I'll leave names out, but
Of
yeah,
course.
after one of the first posts I made about being sober, I got outreached by a couple of brokers, some that I worked with and some that I had never worked with, but had, prospected in the past. And today it's a mix. I stay in touch with all of them. I don't work with all of them. But yeah, man, it's incredible how those bonds can be struck
Hmm.
just by kind of a shared struggle. But what I would say in our industry and in probably most, like, struggles with alcohol specifically run rampant. And I've heard from a lot of people who are like, man, I would never post about that, but I'm glad you did so that we can talk about it
Sure.
together.
Welcome to the Rockstars Rocking podcast, powered by Voluntary Disruption, a show dedicated to people who are crushing their business and life goals. These are bite-sized conversations with leading rock stars in their respective industry who are pumped to share their story to help drive you to the next level. So, are you ready to rock? Speaking of rock stars, here's your host, Eric Silverman.
Hey, rock stars, welcome back to another episode of Rockstars Rocking, where every week, each and every week, I only have the best, the top rock stars rocking it out in their business and their personal life. And this week, no exception. Everybody welcome my good friend, Sims Tillirson, Vice President of Business Development at Perks. And Sims, it's my pleasure, man. What's up, man? How are you?
Dude, I'm great. So glad to be here with you. Always fun to jam with you a little bit. No pun intended.
Well, man, you got those Rockstar guitars behind you, and I was telling you earlier, I had a guest on a few weeks ago. Hasn't been released yet, so I'll save the secret. But nonetheless, this guy had guitars hanging behind his head. Guy doesn't even play guitars. So at least in your case, I know you play guitar. I know you sing. I know you're a big music fan like me. So I think it works for you. You can keep those guitars back there.
I appreciate it, man. This was my studio before COVID hit and this became my office. So it's real.
There you go. There you go. Well, listen, man, I want to jump right into it. I'm super excited to have you on the show. A lot of folks in the employee benefits in the insurance world, we have a lot of common connections, I should say. And if anybody's listening to my show, if you're not already connected with the one, the only Sims Tillirson, please change that right away. Like, I don't want you to stop listening to the show. I don't want you to stop watching on YouTube if that's what you're doing right now. But I would give you a little reprieve if you pause. You got to come back. But if you just pause to go hit follow or connect with Sims on LinkedIn, it would mean the world to me and also Sims. And I tell you, you're in for a treat. And Sims, let's talk about that, right? Because I don't know. You tell me, but I don't know that you're a marketing, sales, social media guru by trade from college. Maybe you were. You have to tell us, but you've become pretty consistent on social media,
Yeah.
and you've been giving some tips and helpful ideas to folks that reach out to you on the side. And no offense, my friend, but I didn't know you. I didn't know your name. For years, I've been on social media and LinkedIn, and all of a sudden, here comes this guy out of the middle of nowhere, and he's lightening up everybody's day each and every day. So talk about, to me, what it means for you with building your own personal brand on social media, specifically being, I believe, LinkedIn. I guess you would agree
Yeah.
is where you're at.
Yeah, man. So I'll tell you the quick story is that my benefits career started at Colonial Life, which is a recognizable name. I did a lot of selling through corporate, and it was easy. And when I left at the height of the beginning of the pandemic, I found out that it was not so easy to jump on a plane and go sell for uh, a brand with a little less recognition. So I just jumped on LinkedIn and figured, shoot, I can't be selling any less than I am right now. Let's see if this works. And through an incredible amount of failure, trial and error, I am where I am today. But I was definitely not a branding or marketing expert coming out of college. I just kind of had to learn what worked for me. And yeah, LinkedIn's my community, man. It's the only social media that I'm on today. And it works well for me.
So yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize it was that soon, but so it's really only been really less than a couple of years that you've been on social media, and in this case, again, LinkedIn. What made you realize that that would be the nice avenue for you to, I don't know, I'll use the word express yourself in a positive way, authentic, transparency, all the things. I mean, we're going to dive into it today, but there's very little that you haven't already shared on social media. So, and I appreciate that about you. So talk to me about why you picked LinkedIn and what it is that sparked that flair to say, hey, this could be a good avenue for me.
Yeah. So the first thing was that I knew my customers were on LinkedIn. So I sell to brokers, benefit brokers, HR executives, those types of folks. I knew they were on LinkedIn. So I knew I could reach them through LinkedIn. And the other piece is that I saw a lot of people posting a ton of boring content, right? Like there are people like you.
Hey man, I'm right here. You don't have to be, I mean, you're talking to me. Come on.
There are people like you and Andy Neary, Ryan, a couple other those folks that were doing different stuff that people really responded to, right? That wasn't just like, hey, let's talk about what I do for a living. So I saw the opportunity there. And again, like I experimented a lot. I did a lot of pitch slapping in the DMs, which is bad. I did a lot of bad things that I coach against. And then just through that trial and error really learned, hey, if I'm going to be completely authentic and real, like it's different here. And not everybody's going to like it, but I will be able to build like a network of true fans and supporters here on LinkedIn by being real.
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn, when I got started into social media, I did it selfishly because I use the term unskin myself from the carrier that I was with for so long. And, you know, I left the carrier and I didn't have a brand. I was just my name and I didn't have a name. And by the way, and I don't say this for any self-serving reasons, but I did really well. Like it wasn't it was kind of, to be blunt and honest here and transparent, it's kind of a bruise to the ego in my case. When I left my carrier, I was like hot stuff. And all of a sudden I get out into the real world and I'm like, wait, nobody knows who I am. This sucks. Right. So I had to jump feet first in and really dig in and find a way to build my personal brand. So I can totally respect and understand and appreciate what you just said. But, you know, it's interesting because I immediately was told, and I did research, and everybody said, well, you know, LinkedIn is where you go for professional. It's like a professional Facebook, and that's not even a good example, but it's a professional social media site. And I immediately got told that's not where you go to post a picture of the McDonald's cheeseburger you just had and to tell people about, you know, how your vacuum just died and you're looking for a new one. And I guess there's still some truths to that in some capacity, but I feel like the lines have been blurred in a positive way, at least from what I've seen. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. And look, there are the people every time I make some personal posts that shoot me DMs or make comments that are like, I don't want to see this here. And I get that. That's fine. That's what the unfollow button is for.
I was going to say unfollow, disconnect, block, like who cares? Whatever they want.
That's right. But yeah, I think the lines have definitely been blurred, and I agree with you. It's positive, but I want to know people that I may work with in the future or may never work with beyond what it is that they do for a living. And I will say, at least on my side of LinkedIn, I don't see a lot of the bitterness and hatefulness that exist in some of the other social media sites, but we still get the personal touch, which I love.
Yeah, well, you know, the sheer fact of the matter is, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, my next statement here, but most social media, and I don't know about LinkedIn, but most social media sites, it appears, at least to the common person like myself, maybe you too, that the algorithm likes negative. Like it actually feeds on negativity because it you know, the posts and so forth, they feed on clickbait. I can't say that I haven't seen that on LinkedIn because I have, but I feel like ultimately at the end of the day, the people that I'm surrounded with, the content that I embrace and engage on is overwhelmingly positive and transparent and fun. And yeah, it's a business platform. There's going to be some business stuff there. I get it.
Yeah.
But even that, I'm more apt to engage, particularly if I know and like and trust the person, even though I've actually never met them in person, such as somebody like yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I met you one time in person, but it took a while, and we were engaging prior to that.
Yeah, that's right. And that's been the incredible thing for me from a sales perspective is people do get a chance to know me, like me, trust me. We were laughing earlier about the post I made the other day about all the crazy stuff I talk about on LinkedIn. Like if I'm so honest about my struggles in my past, you can trust me to be honest about a product I'm selling, right?
Yep. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. Well, let's kind of dig into some other ideas here, some other questions I have for you. So, number one, I know you went to school and then you got out of school and you went into the insurance world, but how did that even start? Like, I don't know about you, but I went to college, and there's never a time in college when I said, you know what, I want to sell insurance. Like that just
Right.
never came out of my mouth. So, how did you get sucker? Excuse me. How did you end up into the employee benefits insurance world?
No, that's a good word for it. Suckered into the Hotel California, man. So I graduated from college, and for those of you listening that don't know, I got kicked out of college a couple of times, so bounced around. Eventually graduated from a little school called Presbyterian College in Clinton, South Carolina, and the only thing I knew how to do was like work on farms and do manual labor. So I went to work for Sunny Purdue, running a grain elevator in the middle of nowhere in South Carolina, and it was horrible. I worked like 100 hours a week, made no money, and just looked for any job I could find with air conditioning. And it happened to end up being in the back office doing billing for Colonial Life in Columbia. Uh, and as most stories go in the insurance business, once I got in, I never left.
So, you think that AC in Columbia, South Carolina, beats the fields of the Southern heat in the middle of summer?
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah, it
accurate.
does. It does. Even with plan administrators yelling at you about their bill, the AC makes it worth it.
Heck, man, it might have been me. Who knows?
It could have been.
Could have been. All right. So you found the insurance world. It was a happy accident. It worked out well. But it's not all sunshine, rainbows, and roses here. You were at that time of your life and prior, you were dealing with a lot of struggles in your personal life.
Yeah.
This was, I imagine, before you got married. It was definitely before you had a child. So you've been very open and vocal on social media, again, LinkedIn, about it, which I find very refreshing and genuine. Most people, unfortunately, do try to hide their past, particularly the
Yeah.
type of past that you're going to talk about. So maybe open up a little bit and share with our listeners those and the funny thing is, not funny, but ironic, is a lot of people listening may be able to identify
Yeah.
with your message, whether it's as aggressive or as serious, it doesn't even matter, but they may be able to kind of think about their own problems and say, you know what, maybe I should talk about it more because
Yeah.
people can relate. Let's talk about it. Tell us about your background. I know you had some addiction challenges. Let's get into it.
Yeah, man. So I was sexually abused as a kid, and have had a lot of mental health struggles as a result of that. Started experimenting with drugs and alcohol when I was about 13 years old, and really, I was the party guy. I was the guy you could call at any time to go have a beer with or whatever. Eventually, got really into cocaine was my drug of choice, and then getting out of college. Um, I went to a doctor who thought he was helping me, but I have a debilitating back injury from farm work, and he prescribed me 120 Vicodin a month, and boy, did I take every single one of them. So there were a few years there, right before I got married, and the early part of my marriage where I was doing all the happy hours that a lot of salespeople do, but I was also hitting bumps of cocaine and taking a lot of painkillers all the time. So I mean that came to a head, and I'm privileged to be clean from narcotics for almost 5 years, and 3.5 years sober from alcohol. But like I told you, when I got clean from the drugs, the stress of my job and my life didn't go away. So I just started drinking more and more and more, and that eventually, became really harmful to not my job, but really my marriage was what suffered as a result of that.
So, I certainly don't hear every single story, but and certainly no names, but my wife is in the mental health space. She's a licensed clinical social worker. She's a psychotherapist, and she sees, she owns her own private practice, and she sees patients that the vast majority of her patients are kids, all the way down to 4 or 5 years old,
Mm-hmm.
all the way. And, she doesn't even see adults unless they started as a kid. So, I made a joke, didn't go over well, by the way, but I made a joke that the only reason she sees adults now is because she's old. She didn't like that, by the way, but it's real, because she sees a kid when they're 10 and now they're in their mid 20s, they might have a kid. Well, she still sees that patient.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids, I should say, or patients, they have had abuse challenges, like yourself, sexual abuse. They have drug problems, alcohol problems, where you didn't mention it, and I certainly hope it wasn't, but a lot of her patients were beaten up by their parents and brothers and sisters and family members and uncles and aunts. So I have a place in my heart for folks like that. And for you to recognize that and talk about it is incredible, because she'll tell me stories. Again, no HIPAA violations. She didn't tell me names. I've never met her clients or patients, but she'll say how it's a struggle for her to get people to open up and tell people the truth. Like, she told me a story once about how one of her patients was seeing a new boyfriend, and
Mm-hmm.
she was struggling to tell the boyfriend about her past, because she didn't want the boyfriend to think lesser of her. And as a counselor, my wife is saying, you have to open up. You have to tell. If it's going to go anywhere, if you really think it's going to have meaning, you have to be open and honest. And in your case, you're sitting here telling everybody on the world on LinkedIn. And again, it's not going to be for everybody, and you will have people that won't appreciate it. But
Yeah.
I really think that by and large, in the year 2022 and moving forward as we record this, I think it's becoming more and more acceptable to share this stuff. And you're younger than me, but the reality, man, in my opinion, is back in my day and even your day, it wasn't the cool thing for you to tell another kid or a friend that you were in therapy or that you were having challenges. Nowadays, it really is a thing where high school students will say, oh yeah, I can't go to baseball practice because I got to go see my therapist. And the other kids don't make fun. They're like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, I see mine tomorrow. Like, I don't know. That's
wild.
a good thing, though. Do you see that yourself?
I do. And I mean, even in our world, man, like 5 years ago, I would never have dreamed of putting therapy on my work calendar. But now, like, my teammates at Perks, like, they will see my therapy appointments on my calendar, and I put in mental health breaks to go take walks, like things I never would have done that are becoming so much more acceptable just because people are willing to talk about it. I think the truth is, Eric, like, just like you said, you hear the stories. We're all affected by abuse, mental health challenges, addiction in some way, whether we directly experience it or not. So we should talk about it.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because you told me earlier, and I didn't know this about you. You said that you're a worship pastor, a leader in your church, in your community. And, forgive my ignorance. I just naturally assumed it was part of your recovering and healing. Because then maybe I'm crazy. That I think that's what a lot of people might assume.
Yeah.
But you said that you've been doing it for years.
Yeah. No, I've been doing it for years. I've been leading worship as a contemporary musician and worship leader, really for about 12 years now. And like I told you, I was just really good at hiding some of my struggles.
So has your addictions in the past ever cost you something career-wise, position-wise? Because like you just said, you were pretty good at hiding it. So was there ever a situation where somebody found out when you weren't at that time being as transparent, and you had to make some tough choices, or I should say they did?
So I got lucky. There were times in the early part of my career at Colonial when I was in lower level roles, when I would like roll into work at 10, 11, 12, which is not acceptable at all, but was given a lot of grace by the leadership I had at that time, and they never really asked too many questions. So I got lucky there. And then, fortunately or unfortunately, I used alcohol and drugs as kind of a vehicle through my career to be able to work. I would work 70 hours a week and go entertain all the clients all over the place. And it worked to my advantage in some ways, which is not the story for most people. But I was lucky to never have my career blow up and never have anything really significant happen as a result of that.
Do you feel like you did that for quite a while. Do you feel like you were building up like a tolerance to it where you just needed more and more to help? Because I mean, if you could tolerate it to go to work and fulfill your job, that's not easy for a lot of people.
No, and I mean for sure, I'd been doing all that stuff for so long that yes, I did need more and more. And I mean, the biggest piece of that puzzle was alcohol. When the narcotics stopped, I needed a lot of that every day to, not that I was drinking before work, but it was like get off work and go have a 12 pack of beer and a couple liquor drinks with your friends or whatever. And I chalked it up to, oh, I'm in sales. This is what we do. But as you well know, that's that's not really the case.
Yeah, no, and I don't have a challenge from years past. I don't have a crazy story, but I'm not a drinker. I just never have
Yeah.
been. My wife either. I just don't like the taste of alcohol, and I'm also my personality. I don't like being out of control. So on the rare couple times, literally less than a handful of times, I think I've ever been buzzed, let alone inebriated. I just didn't like it. Like
Yeah.
it just wasn't me. I felt like I wasn't myself. So people ask me all the time, "You don't drink?" And I joke with them. Sometimes I'll say, "Yeah, I don't like to talk about it." And it's amazing the reactions you get by that, by the way. But nonetheless, let me ask you this: do you feel like, or has this ever happened to you? You're sharing your story about addiction and your past and alcohol and all this stuff. Have you ever had a spark occur with a new friend or client or somebody or a prospect where maybe their story is slightly different, maybe it's exactly the same, maybe it's worse, but that's your common bond, and in essence over the next many months or years you end up conducting commerce just based on the sheer principle of people do business with people they like, respect, know, and trust. So I could imagine that could happen. Maybe it has happened. Do you have any stories about that?
Yeah, I do, and I'll leave names out, but
Of
yeah,
course.
after one of the first posts I made about being sober, I got outreached by a couple of brokers, some that I worked with and some that I had never worked with, but had prospected in the past. And today, it's a mix. I stay in touch with all of them. I don't work with all of them, but yeah, man, it's incredible how those bonds can be struck
Hmm.
just by kind of a shared struggle. But what I would say in our industry and in probably most, like struggles with alcohol specifically run rampant. And I've heard from a lot of people who are like, man, I would never post about that, but I'm glad you did so that we can talk about it
Sure.
together.
Well, I think we can teach here. Let you and I can teach, because I think it doesn't have to be, in my opinion, um, it doesn't have to be alcohol or drugs or
Right.
abuse. I think it could be just anything. It could be something that you're just super into that maybe you just believe not many people are into. I would encourage somebody, and nobody pays me to give them advice on what to post and how to post, but I have given unsolicited advice, and I tell people, just post what you want. Nobody cares. It's going to be a fleeting moment. It's the flick of your thumb on your iPhone. Nobody's paying
Exactly.
that close of attention. And chances are 99% of your network will never see it, just because the algorithm. So, like for me, it's not a secret, and I should be embarrassed about it, but I'm a big Orioles fan, Baltimore Orioles baseball. And I post about it pretty often throughout the year. And that in and of itself has created a lot of relationships with folks around the country who also love baseball, love to bash the Orioles, love to make fun of me. And as night follows day, it leads to a personal conversation, which ultimately a lot of times leads to conducting commerce. And if it wasn't for me posting about how much I love my Orioles in baseball, who knows? I might not have ever met that broker or that partner or that client or whoever it is. So I think your story and my story about baseball, it just goes to show whatever it is, just put it out there.
Yeah.
There's going to be somebody who can relate that you may not ever have realized could be a client or a customer had you not talked about it. Do you agree, or?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it doesn't have to be this crazy, dark,
Right.
big story. It can, I post about music a lot. There are a ton of benefits people that play music or just like music. I post
Mhm.
about Krispy Kreme donuts, and who doesn't love a good Krispy Kreme donut? People love to be able to start conversations about shared interests. They love it.
It's
And
true.
it can be the simplest little thing that we put out on LinkedIn.
It's
And there's
so
no
true.
excuse not to.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And you're right. Who doesn't love a Krispy Kreme donut? Definitely beats Dunkin' Donuts, in my opinion. Um,
Amen.
the particularly warm. We got to stop talking about this. You're killing me.
I'm getting
Um,
hungry, man.
I know, right? This podcast is brought to you by Crispy. No, I wish. Reach out to me. Hey, you never know. So let's talk about that. So you have the guitars behind you. You said another personal interest of yours is music. You have listed on your LinkedIn that you're a recording artist, that you a singer, songwriter. You also say you're a tattoo enthusiast. These are all things that there's people out there that absolutely can relate that and they'll be quicker to talk to you about music and tattoos than they're quicker to talk about benefits,
Oh
but they
yeah.
happen to be in the benefits world. That's again another example.
And that's the connection, and that's what I need, because at the end of the day, we all in the benefits world may do things a little differently than our competitors, but we all have competitors. And the reason that somebody does business with you, at least a little piece of it, is they like you and they feel like they can connect with you outside of, oh, you provide benefits, I need benefits.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. So talk to me about what you're doing these days. I know we're recording this show here in the toward the end of May 2022. And I know you congrats. I know you just landed a new big gig. You're the VP of Business Development at Perks. Tell everybody what about how that came about and really what Perks is, because I'm a benefits advisor myself. I've been in the business. I feel like I've heard the name, but
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said I knew much about it myself.
Yeah. So I about half a year ago interviewed with Perks for a job that myself and the Perks team decided was not a good fit. Stayed in touch with the CEO, Alexa Baggio, really to help provide some insight in how to take one of her products into the brokerage market. And she just decided that I was going to be the person to lead it. And she dragged me kicking and screaming to do it. So glad I made the move. But Perks is really three companies in one. So the first is PerksCon, trade show brand for HR people. Second is People Ops Society, which is like a mastermind community for HR people. And the third, which is my baby, is Showcase. And it is a SaaS platform that we use for benefits education, navigation, virtual benefit fairs, live events, and then 24/7, 365 push notifications.
Okay. And I know you have a benefits background. I know you you got into the benefit technology space. I know you were at an enrollment firm for a while. How does what you're doing now relate to all that in general? I mean, I know benefits, but it sounds it's a bit different though.
It is. So this platform, I think of it like the front door to a total rewards package. So it's the place employees go to see not only their benefits, but their leave policies and their wellness perks. And maybe if their employer offers like Grubhub discounts or something so they can get meals working remote. So it sits on top of the bin admin systems I used to sell. It comes before the enrollment event. It is a place for employees to really go to learn about all of the perks and benefits that are available to them before they ever engage in benefits education and enrollment.
Right, because it sounds like it's not just talking about actual insurance employee benefits. It's
Right.
talking about, I mean, the word benefits, people a lot of times just assume we're talking about insurance, but we're not. I mean, benefits, a benefit is a benefit is a benefit, regardless of who pays for it and regardless of what it is. Your perception as an employee of a benefit could be one thing, and your counterpart colleague could perceive that not to be a benefit, but something else is. So I like what you said about that. That's really neat.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. And I think, look, the goal here is a lot of times employees have to go to a bin admin system for their traditional benefits, to a clunky intranet site, learn about their leave policies and maybe like discount perks. And then to some other system to learn about their other benefits. And we just want to put it all in one place to make employees' lives easy, because let's face it, benefits are really confusing even for us that have been professionals in the business for a while. So they're very confusing to the average everyday employee.
So we have a lot of just based on the nature of my background, a lot of my audience is certainly going to be employee benefit brokers, advisors, carrier reps, other solution providers, like a Perks, not a competitor, but somebody that sells to brokers and employers. So obviously they should reach out to you if they want to learn more, do a demo of some sort. But short of that, just in general, is Perks a flat cost type system to the employer, to the broker? Is it a PEPM model? Can you expand a little bit?
Yeah. So when we go direct to employer, which is not going to be our model going forward, it's PEPM based, kind of flat fee, based on account size. We don't reconcile the invoice monthly to charge you for every single person. So we'll call it a flat fee. And then the other option is that brokers and carriers can license this thing to essentially give it to their groups for about $3,000 per account, regardless of size.
And is there a size minimum that this would be targeted for, or a size maximum?
Yeah, so I think most of our customers fall in the 100 to 5,000 life range. We've got some huge clients that are outliers, and we've got some 25 life clients. So I think that, if there's a need, we'll provide the solution to any employer, regardless of their size. But I think, the 100 to 5,000 life range is our sweet spot.
Okay, awesome. And what about industry? Is there a specific industry?
Not really. So, we've got Major League Baseball is a cool client. We have the Lakers. So that's sports, right? We've also got universities. We've got hospitals. We've got credit unions. So it really runs the gambit. Anybody whose employees have trouble navigating their total rewards package, any HR team who gets too many of the same questions over and over, which is probably most of them.
It's all
any
of
them. Of those people can benefit from this product.
Okay, awesome. Well, listen, Sims, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a blast. I certainly got to know you a little bit more than I already did. Again, I can't stress enough, do me a favor if you're listening to the show today. Number one, I appreciate you very much. I'm thankful that you would take some time out of your busy day to listen. But go ahead and do yourself a favor. Forget me, do yourself a favor and connect and or follow Sims Tillirson right here on social media, specifically again on LinkedIn. Send him a DM, slide into those DMs, direct message him if you have a question or you just want to say hey. Let him know if maybe you have something in common, you can appreciate his story or his background. If you want to learn more about Perks, what's the website, Sims?
Yeah, so poweredbyperks.com is the kind of gateway to all three of our brands. So hit that. Please do follow, connect on LinkedIn, and do slide into my DMs. We don't have to talk about benefits. We can talk about tattoos or music or Asian food, whatever you want.
And when you slide into his DM, just make sure you give him a hard sales pitch. He loves that.
I do. I love that.
That's the best way to get his attention.
I'll buy from you immediately.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly the way you're not supposed to do it, by the way. But do it anyway because it's funny. And Sims, you got to promise to send me a screenshot because that'll be really funny.
I'm about to get flooded with hundreds of them.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I really would love to see that, by the way, just for fun. All right. Well, listen, Sims, I appreciate you. And you look, man, I just show up and I ask some questions and have some fun, but I don't do all the back office stuff. So, I know that's hard work. So I appreciate my team that helps me. So for everybody behind the scenes at the RockstarsRocking podcast, I'm Eric Silverman. That was and always will be Sims Tillirson, the Sims Tillirson, Vice President, Business Development at Perks. Connect with him on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments for future shows, ideas, please drop them in the comments section below. And that's it. That's all I got, man. You said it all. Thank you for listening. And don't just have a great week. Make it a great week, because I know I will. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Rockstars Rocking Podcast. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. And if you feel so inclined, please leave us a review. 5 stars would totally rock. Until next time, rock stars, keep rocking.